The principle of non-duality is the core of the teaching. Not just the teaching of Sat Yoga, it's the core of every authentic spiritual tradition. What Sat Yoga has added onto it that wasn't present in the ancient traditions is the structure of the modern and the postmodern ego, and the integration of physics and complexity theory and chaos theory and modern sciences in general to help understand the nature of consciousness in ways that were not available to the ancient sutra writers, and to explain the context of the fact that we are at the end of Kali Yuga, so that one is no longer confused about why are things so bad, and can it really be that we're heading toward a global nuclear war, and to be able to help bring that into a context in which there's no fear, but one understands the urgency of preparation for what is happening on the phenomenal plane and for the urgency of liberation. But none of that is essential to Sat Yoga or to liberation. What is essential is the principle of non-duality. So I don't care if someone here says, I don't believe it's the end of Kali Yuga, or I think after Kali Yuga we'll get to another copper age, we're not going to destruction and then a golden age. It doesn't matter. You don't need to believe that. Because if you understand the principle of non-duality, the world is unreal anyway. There is no world. It's a dream. And the key to understanding how to navigate the dream is to be in the dimension of the dreamer, not the dreamee, not the character in the dream, but the one who is beyond the dream. And you can only get there through the understanding of non-duality. And so, until that understanding happens, there cannot be a paradigm shift. This is the first step of Sat Yoga. For those who are new to Sat Yoga and don't understand about our trivium and quadrivium, Swati, could you write it on the board? The first step being translation. Translation means that you take in the idea of non-duality in its total implications, and you accept the idea. This is the first stage in which most people already resist. They will not shift their paradigm from duality to non-duality. If you refuse to shift your paradigm, even at a symbolic level, you don't believe this idea. I believe it's a world of multiplicity and we're separate beings, and when you die it's over, and I don't want to hear about anything pie in the sky, spirituality. If you're in that frame of reference or anything even close to it, then you can't take in this idea. And so if you have a different idea than non-duality, then you will be in a different vibrational frequency and will not be able to then use that idea in order to transcend the symbolic dimension itself. So the first question is there resistance to taking in the idea? And it may take, for some people, a long time to actually accept that idea. Not just theoretical, but that it pertains to you, that you are in a state of non-duality, meaning you are not other than the one self. Do you accept that you are the self, not the ego, not the bodily being who was born to certain parents in the world, but that you are eternal, unchanging consciousness that contains the world as a dream? Do you get that for yourself? So that's the next step, is the digestion of the idea, which leads to transformation. If you don't digest and assimilate the idea, then it will have no effect upon your ego structure. The idea has to be digested. And that can take a long time, because it's actually, even though seemingly a very simple idea, it has tremendous complex implications. Because non-duality functions in every spectrum of good, bad, right, wrong, transcendent, immanent, nirvana, samsara, you name it. Infinite number of dualities that all turn out to be non-dualities. And it's even in the Bible, in the Torah, the Old Testament. Why did Adam and Eve lose their residence in the Garden of Eden? They ate of the tree of the knowledge of duality. Good and evil, the first duality. And what happens? As soon as you believe that good and evil are a duality, that they are two, as soon as you believe that, you will then, by implication, have to believe that, well, the world is a world of evil. It's a world of suffering. And good must be heaven. But heaven is elsewhere. Because I don't see goodness in the world. I see a lot of evil egos who are all in it for themselves, and everybody is selfish and attached and greedy and et cetera, et cetera. So as soon as you believe in duality, you are going to see the world as a hell realm and heaven as elsewhere, if it even exists. And so this is why psychologically we were kicked out of the garden. As soon as you believe in the duality, then you end up on the wrong side of the tracks of that duality. And even if you believe you are the good, then you are going to be attacked by evil. And then you would discover that it is good, it is those who believe that they are good who are actually doing the most evil. It is good that is evil in its masquerade form that then takes over the world, which is why the road to hell is paved with such intentions. And if you're naive and you buy into the belief in that duality of good and evil, you will not be able to respond intelligently and accurately to the situations you face in life. Duality makes you gullible. Non-duality keeps you innocent but wise. So until we've gone through the digestion of the process and accepted that I am the non-dual self, not just Ramana or those pictures on the wall or the theoretical philosophical system that says this is for some people. No, but I, for each one, knows that this is your true nature. That's when the bubble pops and we go into the third phase, which is transcendence. That's the final phase of the trivium, which doesn't mean trivial, but it means the path of three. So once we have popped the ego bubble, we will discover that the neti-neti principle, I am not this, I am not that, because what is the self? When you've digested the realization that you're the self, but the self is nothing. The self doesn't exist. It has being but not existence. And then you see the difference between the two. Existence is a determinate form, but the self functions in indeterminacy, because freedom requires indeterminacy. But you must realize you are indeterminate even to yourself. And the ego is very uncomfortable with indeterminacy. It wants certainty. It wants to know what's on the menu, you know, and it wants to decide what it wants to eat and how it wants it cooked, and it wants everything very specifically organized to its own comfort zone. And so it's always suffering, because nothing ever is the way the ego wishes it were. So when the ego bubble pops and the neti has completely digested all identifications, then one enters soul consciousness. And in soul consciousness, your values shift spontaneously. So that's transvaluation. Now we're entering the quadrivium.